Hi everyone, welcome. Nice to see you all here. Get started in just a moment, just a couple more folks coming in from the waiting room. But we're happy to have you all here, excited to talk through Community Connects today. Feel free to arrive however you need, if you're eating lunch, whatever it is, on camera, off camera, whatever feels good to you. We're just happy to have you here and excited to talk this through. So maybe just before we jump into the presentation, I'll say hello. My name is Katie. I'm the head of programming with Brampton Arts Organization. And I'm here with Amanda as well. Amanda, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Sure. Yes, hi everyone. My name is Amanda. I work with Katie and the team at BOW, also working on programming and our engagement events.
Nice. So just a note for folks, we are recording today and we do intend to share this back with other registrants. So just to let you know if you'd like to change your name or any of that before we jump in and get started. Okay, so we're here to talk about Community Connects, a call for programming proposals that's currently out right now, closing on February 16th. So we're going to go through today. I'll pull up our agenda here. So I imagine I'll talk for about half an hour or so, we'll see, and then we'll leave some time for Q&A and discussion at the end. We're going to go over the program as a whole together, some of the key details, eligibility requirements, what's expected from you as the artist if you were to be accepted. We'll go through selection criteria, and then we'll spend some time with the application as well. And then, like I said, we'll end with Q&A and discussion. So as we get started, I'll give folks just a bit of an overview of what Community Connects is, how it's evolved. It's about 3 years now since we started this program, and we first began it really we wanted to offer you folks as Brampton creatives the opportunity to let us know what you wanted to see programmed. You folks are the ones that know your communities best, are experts in your own disciplines, and we wanted to see what you were interested in us helping you and supporting you to provide and bring to the community. So throughout those 3 years, we've seen a lot of really interesting and engaging programs. And we've grown the program a little bit. It's changed each year. It's sort of iterated, and we'll go through some of those changes today. But really, it's a program that's meant for you to let us know what you want to see in Brampton. And we're using the term program pretty broadly. We're open to a lot of different ideas and suggestions. This could be a workshop, it could be an event, it could be a meetup, some type of gathering, or any other type of programming that you may be able to imagine. Really the key point, which I had said earlier, was by Brampton Creatives for Brampton Creatives. So it's not really a workshop that's meant for general public. It's meant to be supporting creative community in Brampton, which really is the mandate of Brampton Arts Organization. So the funding that you can receive is from $750 up to $1,250. And this is for things like artist fees, materials, any venue costs, your insurance fees, and all of that is meant to be spent on your program, on your project. The application deadline for this current intake of applications is February 16th at 11:59 p.m. So that's a Sunday. And this is ideally for projects that are taking place from now, March, April, May, or June. So spring and early summer. And then we do plan to do another intake of Community Connects applications in June. So say you're just wrapping your head around what your program may be and you're not totally sure yet, or it's not quite ready yet, but you think, oh, I would be ready to apply later in the summer or early summer. You can hold on to that idea and there will be opportunity for more funding to come. And maybe Amanda, have I missed anything? Anything you would want to add about Community Connects?
I think so. Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so generally, what does this program support? What are we looking for? As I said, programs by you for Brampton Creatives. It's not really intended for general public, general art making programs. That's not really what BOW is offering and what we're here to be supporting. Another key component for us is programs that are supporting and strengthening social connection, building community, helping folks network, meet other peers, meet other mentors. So it's not to say that this needs to be the the core of your program, just that you've given some thought into how you would facilitate what you're proposing to help folks get to know each other when they're attending your program itself. Multidisciplinary. So I have this here just to say that we're open to all types of disciplines. So you could be a visual artist, you could be a musician, you could be a dancer. You know, myself, I'm a visual artist, and many of folks on BOW team are visual artists. So we don't really know how to program our recording studio, for instance. So we're looking to you to let us know what you think your creative community is needing. Community building, as I mentioned, and we're also looking to support you in building your own facilitation skills and your programming experience. So you don't have to have done this before. We're here to help you and to provide guidance and support. So if you are just learning or you think, oh, this is not something I've done before, I've never led a program, I would need some help, you can let us know that. And we're here to help you figure that out as you go and work through the different processes with you. If you have done this a lot of times before, that's also wonderful, but just to let you know, we're open to different entry points here. The last thing to note is that we're not looking for programs that we're currently running at BOW. We're looking for new ideas. So for instance, BOW runs a grant writing program throughout the year. So we wouldn't really be looking for you to be running a grant programming alongside us. And you can get an idea of some of the programs that we are leading through our website and on our Eventbrite as well. You could also make the case to us, you know, if you see a program that we're leading. So for instance, our next Open Studio workshop is on Procreate, so illustration. And if you think, oh, you know, it would be wonderful to dive more into that, and I'd love to lead another Procreate illustration workshop, you can make the case to us. But generally speaking, we're not looking for programs that we're running on an ongoing basis. All right, so who can apply? So we're looking for folks that are in Brampton. You're a Brampton artist, you're committed to supporting the sector in Brampton. You have to be 18 years of age or older, and you have to be applying for a workshop that's within your discipline. So just like I was saying earlier, I'm a visual artist. If I wanted to do a music recording workshop, that wouldn't really make sense. I wouldn't really be able to teach that in a good way. So in your application, we'll talk through this. You're going to want to be demonstrating to the selection panel that you're the right person and you have the skill set for the workshop in which you're proposing. And then just to note, you will have to submit a social insurance number if you are accepted. That'll be required to make a payment to you, and you will also be receiving a T4A tax slip for receiving the funding as well. Okay, so there's a lot of text on the slide. This is also in the program guidelines, which we'll open up together too, and I'll send out an email following this. But these are all important bits and pieces to keep in mind and to remember. So programs have to be taking place within this calendar year. They have to be delivered by yourself. You can, of course, have a co-facilitator and other collaborators, but you have to be the main person that's delivering the workshop. The program has to be held in Brampton. We'd like for it to be accessible by transit, so keep that in mind when you're looking at your venue. The program, like all BOW programs, has to be free as well. And as you're able to, we'd love for the program to be hosted in an accessible venue. So this could look like, you know, many of Brampton rec centers are accessible places, Brampton libraries. There's a lot of options and places to look for. We understand it's not always possible, but that's sort of where we're the standard that we're looking for. The program has to be at least 1 hour long, and it can be up to 3 hours. You could host it over multiple days. So say you could have an hour and a half on one Saturday and an hour and a half the following Saturday. You can lead your program in person or virtually, that's up to you. And the entire budget for the workshop has to be used to deliver this program. So it can't be used for other things, just for this program. And then the last bullet point here is more of a remnant from COVID, but as different health mandates may come up, we'll be following the Peel Public Health guidelines. Okay, so now we're getting into the what do we fund section, and we'll go through some examples together of some past projects that we funded. So overall, we're looking for initiatives that are 20 plus people. We're looking to support a broad range of community members. So we're not really looking for programs that are supporting, 2 to 3 people only. We're looking for a greater reach. We want there to be a clear audience for the workshops themselves. So this means you have an understanding of the folks that are going to be coming to your program. There's some demonstrated, or you have an understanding that folks will come, that there's demonstrated need, you understand who you're speaking to, and that those folks will be interested in come out. Your learning goals are clear for your program. There's a connection to Brampton and the creative community. And then the last point, which we've already spoken about, which is social connection and networking. So you can see an image here on the side for a community zine making workshop that was led in 2023. So this is an example of a program that was led over 2 dates. And I believe the first one was online and the second one was in person. So there's different combinations of program types that may work best for you. Here we have an example of a program that happened last year. So this was done by an artist, Gulzar, and they led a one evening filmmaking showcase. And their venue here is Cyril Clark. So they focused on BIPOC and racialized artists, and they were able to showcase a number of different filmmakers' work local to Brampton and gave them a bit of a platform and a stage to speak to their work. This was a great example of a really successful program and involved lots of different folks. And the focus was on Brampton artists, Brampton creatives. Here is a community cyanotype workshop. So this we led as a part of our summer artist market. So I don't know if some of you here may have attended, but you can see lots of different folks participating here. So this was more of a broader audience, but still connected to artists themselves. Here we have a dance workshop that was led by an artist, Kwasi. So here he was really trying to bring African dance to dancers in Brampton and show them different techniques to learn from skilled instructors. So that was another great success. I forget where he was in this venue.
I think it was the Dog Pound. It's like a MMA training center in Brampton, like a gym.
Yeah, so I think this is another good example. Of course, this is dance, but you can get creative with your venue. It could be a restaurant. Like Amanda said, this is a gym that's close to the downtown. We're able to help with suggestions. We can't help you get your venue, but if you're getting a bit stuck, we have some places where other artists have been that we can make suggestions to you. So you don't just have to think about rec centers. There are other spaces that could be possibilities as well. Here is an example from 2023, a creative direction workshop, and they did some styling and some social media content instruction too. So you can see they were using the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, and then they went outside and took some photographs as well. And another example here is another dance workshop. This was led by Cheyenne. So here she was leading 4 dancers, some stretch and mindfulness. And this venue is the Aura House. It's a yoga studio, also close to the downtown. I think it's called the Shoe Factory is the venue that this one was. And then a couple of other examples that we don't necessarily have images for, but were also successful programs. Paula led a Fundamentals of Story Structure in Film. So this was more of a seated workshop led in person for filmmakers, learning about story structure, different examples of story structure. There was an open mic that was held, and then we had a theater workshop, a play reading. So tons of different variety and types of workshop. These, of course, aren't the only types of programs that you could lead, just a starting point to give you some ideas of other ideas that folks have had. Okay, and we can come back to these examples as we keep going. We'll make our way through the application, and then we can jump back to any pieces here where we still have questions. And I should say too, feel free to use the chat. If you do have a question, pop it in there and we can come back to that as well. Okay, so now moving on to what's expected from you if you are successful in receiving the funding. So to put it simply, you'll be responsible for the full delivery of the program and what you proposed in the application. And when we break this down, what this looks like is, first of all, securing a venue. We have a couple of ideas up here on the screen, and these are all linked out, so we'll provide a copy of the slides. So Brampton Library can often be a good place to look if they have space available. Snell Grove Community Center is also a great place that has a rate for artists. Brampton on Stage has a number of different performing arts venues, but they don't just need to be used for performing arts types of projects. For example, we saw somebody use Cyril Clark, and they used it for a film screening. And then there are tons of different City of Brampton facility rentals across the city. And then, like we spoke about earlier, you could look at gyms, you could look at restaurants. There's tons of other non-art spaces that could be repurposed and used for different types of programs. In terms of registration, that's something that us at BOW will be handling. And so we'll be working together to get that up on our Eventbrite. And so we'll need from you a minimum of 3 weeks out to your program, all of the details from your program. So this would look like your workshop title, your description, your learning goals, minimum and maximum number of attendees, location information, and much of this we'll be able to take from your application. The way in which we've worked in the past is we've sent successful applicants a Google sheet or a Google Doc with fill in the blank information that we need, and you'll send that back to us. You're also going to be responsible for marketing your application. So we really want to iterate that you're the person that's responsible for ensuring the success of your program. You're the person that is closest to the community that you're seeking to work with, and we're looking to you to really be able to reach them and get them engaged and coming out to your program. So this would look like a minimum of 2 social media posts to your networks, to your social media or other folks that you're working with. For us at BOW, we'll be able to provide you with social assets and creative that you'll be able to use and share with your networks. And we're also committed to sharing them on our social media channels and our newsletter as well. So we're here as a partner, we're helping you, we're supporting you. We just want to make sure that you're also invested in promoting your program and your project. Any additional type of promotion is up to you. And you're welcome to make your own creative assets. Just note that we'll have to look at them and approve them first as BOW. And we'll take a look at some budgets in a moment, but you could consider putting a bit of budget to social ads if you thought that that would be helpful for your program. So those are just a few considerations. We'll also ask that as a part of your program, you're formally recognizing BOW and our support. We've taken a lot of this language from the Ontario Arts Council. I won't read this all out, but we just want to make sure that folks know that this is a program that that Brampton Arts Organization has supported, that we've provided funding, and that at your program or in any other materials, you're recognizing us in a good way. And then the last little bits of what's expected from you, as we said, full program facilitation. As we're able to, we love to come out to the Community Connects events. We're not always able to be there, so we just want to make sure that you understand that you're in charge of your program. If things change with your program, we understand. It happens to our programs all the time. We just want to make sure that we're in the know and you're communicating with us. That we'd love for you to be able to take photographs and videos of your project. There'll be a closeout report that we'll ask that you complete as well. It's really simple, just 1 page, can be done in bullet points, but it just gives us a record of what's happened and some of the numbers and attendees that have come out. And then we do ask that you receive insurance for your program. This is really protection for yourself. And you would name Brampton Arts Organization in your insurance. If this is something that you haven't done before, no need to worry. We're able to help and provide some suggestions. We found that one of the most affordable options is called Duo, D-U-U-O, and you can get a free quote within 5 minutes or so. So you could provide, whatever you're quoted in your budget from Duo. But there's tons of other different insurance companies out there, so maybe worth doing a quick Google search and seeing what makes the most sense for your project. It'll depend too on the scale and scope. From a dance workshop to a seated workshop, it could be a bit of a different cost. Okay, so maybe I'll pause here because we went through a lot of expectations and quite a few examples. We'll move into selection criteria, but I just want to pause here and ask if there are any initial questions. If anything's unclear, feel free to use the chat or unmute yourself. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So selection, oh, here's something in the chat, I think. Can you submit 2 proposals or only 1? It's a good question. I would encourage you to submit 1 proposal. I would pick your strongest idea and put that one through. We've had other artists before be a collaborator on an additional project, but they're not the primary applicant. So I would say if you have 2 ideas, I would pick your best one. I think it would be really unlikely that the selection panel would select 2 of your projects. We're looking to fund around 6-ish programs per intake. So of the 6, we'd be looking for a bit of a variety. So that's the advice that I would give. So in terms of selection criteria, the folks that make up the panel are your peers. So we'll have a member on the selection panel that has been successful in the past with Community Connects. And we do a call for assessors every year. And maybe I'll ask Amanda to put that in the chat, because if folks are interested in being on any of our selection panels, you're welcome to put in your name. So we'll be selecting folks from our call for assessors, folks that have experience in running programs, have done a lot of facilitation. And so the folks you're speaking to are Brampton creatives, so they're not scary people. They're looking for you to succeed. This is a breakdown here of how applications are going to be scored. You'll see online on the program guidelines, it's done by a percentage. It's the same breakdown here, it's just out of 55. So the biggest score for your application is your program. So what's the quality of your program? Is it a unique program? Is it imaginative? Is it creative? Is it feasible? What's the scope? Have you proposed a program that should actually take place over 6 hours and you're trying to put it into 1 hour? And that could be a great program, but it just doesn't fit within the parameters of what we're looking for Community Connects. We're also looking to see if the budget is reflective of what's proposed. So everything that you're putting in your application should be connected, and a juror and the selection committee should be able to see all of the dots linked together. So, if you're proposing a visual arts workshop, but, something in your budget is, I don't know, totally out of left field for that, it's going to bring up some questions for the selection panel. Have you identified an appropriate audience? Does the program duplicate anything that we're already leading at BOW? Like, this is the why. Why is this program needed? How are you speaking to us about that? And is the program by Brampton Creatives for Brampton Creatives? And the next substantial piece is artistic experience. So overall, I mean, this is sort of general, but overall, does it meet the qualifications of Community Connects? So that's sort of what we went through with the expectations. So is that all there? Have you read the guidelines? Is it clear that you understand what we're looking for? Do you have some experience in facilitating programs? Like I said earlier, you don't need to be an expert. We're here to help and support you, but we just want to make sure that you've demonstrated that you would be capable and are the right person for leading this program. Do you have an understanding of what your audience needs, the needs of creatives and Bramptons? And are you active in your artistic discipline? Are you committed to your field in which you're applying for? And then the last piece is this community engagement part. So do you have a commitment to supporting the creative community in Brampton and your artistic discipline as well? And is your work and what you're proposing connected to the mission and the core values of BOW? So you have linked there. We won't go to it right now, but that's the page where you can read on BOW's mission and mandate. Okay. And I'm just seeing a question in the chat. So here is a question. Would there be any more info regarding the artist community and their interests? We're open to catering, steering the program proposal to more align with Brampton Arts community. So what I might suggest is, depending on who you're trying to reach, I would reach out and ask a couple questions to your audience. Is there another organization that's working in the field that you're interested in? Can you ask them if it would make sense? I know from BOW's perspective, we work with an artist advisory. And so whenever we have an idea and we're a little bit unsure, we go out and ask the community if this would be a valuable resource or not. So I'm not sure if that helps answer your question.
Could I maybe reach out to you later with those maybe recommendations that you reach out to?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Okay. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so now we're into the application itself. So I'll bring up the application in a moment, but just at a high level, these are all of the components that make up the application. So we start with eligibility screening. We just want to make sure that you are a fit to be applying. We do an applicant profile, your name, email, address, all of that, voluntary self-identification. Then we ask you about the program, your artistic experience, and supporting materials. So before we open the application itself, I just want to break down some of the components of it and speak to them a little bit more in detail. So the first bits are kind of self-explanatory in terms of applicant profile and your voluntary self-identification. And then the places where it gets a bit more complicated or we need a bit more detail is when you're talking about your program or your workshop itself. So particularly when it comes to your program description, you want to be clear and concise. You want to be following the word count. And ideally, you're helping the selection panel quickly understand your idea. So you don't want to leave any questions. You want to lead with a strong statement about what you're looking to do. And then, like I said, when we open the application, you'll see I would try and connect the thread. So when you're telling us your workshop title, is that connected to your short description? Is that connected to the long description? Is it connected to the budget? And it's always tempting to add in a bit of fluff or to bulk up your application. But my advice would be to just be clear and concise, get to the point, especially when the selection committee is reading through multiple applications. It makes their job a little bit more difficult when they have to parse through what is being proposed. For the program budget, if you're curious about what you can include, this would be where you would be putting in your artist fees, your insurance, any materials, equipment rentals. And we've got a couple of sample budgets here. BOW also has a fee schedule online, and depending on what artistic discipline that you're working in, there may be a body or an organization that could provide you with some suggestions on where to go for your fees. So for instance, CARFAC is a great one for visual artists that often artists across all disciplines will look to. You can see in this budget on the right, there's the Canadian Alliance of Dance Artists. So each discipline may have a different type of fee schedule. So if we go through this blue budget on the left here, so we have a facilitator fee. Keep in mind that these may be from 2023. So some of these fees and artist fees may have gone up from that date. So a fee to the artist, a material fee. Then I think this was for the creative direction workshop. So they had some garments and accessories that they needed to add to their budget. And then you can see their insurance was actually quite affordable, and their total came in just under $1,000. And then the budget on the right, we have a venue rental fee, we have an artist fee, and explanation of where that comes from. So I would say that this is also quite helpful It's appropriate and sometimes helpful for the selection panel to put in a couple of notes to let us know why, because sometimes you could, say this material fee or the garment fee was $500. And if you're not familiar with that type of discipline, you could be asking, well, why? Where did that come from? So I would say it would be helpful to break it down further for the selection panel, just so they have an idea of where it's coming from. You can see here, there's also a marketing fee, poster printing, and this insurance fee was quite a bit higher than the other budget. So just two different budgets, two different projects, just to give you an idea of how folks are breaking certain things down. I have one more budget here. So this budget also just coming in over $1,000. There's an artist fee. There's a yarn budget. So this was for a crochet workshop, crochet hooks, tapestry needle, a scissors budget, individual scissors, name tags. So some of these in the budgets, if you are successful, we have some of these. So we'll work with you to adjust the budget as it would make sense. So for instance, we have a lot of scissors. So we can work with you if you're accepted to reallocate as you may need. But here you can see that this artist has done a lot of their research. They know the cost of the yarn. They're letting us know that cost. So we know as selection committee when we're looking at this, they haven't just made it up. So we can feel confident in looking at this and saying, okay, this makes sense logically. It feels like they've done their research. So just a couple of examples for us to look at there. Okay, and then back to the application about your program and your workshop. When you're explaining this to us in the application, some questions to ask yourself and to think about is, how will this project benefit the audiences in the community that you're proposing the workshop for? Who is the project serving? Why is it needed? Why does it make sense for BOW to support the program? It could be a wonderful program, but if it doesn't make sense for BOW or you haven't helped us to see that connection, it's going to be really challenging for us to say yes to the program itself. And then have you clearly identified your audience and your community? In terms of your artistic background, we're looking for your bio, and then you'll give us information on your background itself. So in your bio, you're letting us know who you are, your education, if there's any professional experience. It's not a need that you have professional experience, but if you have it, let us know what it is. This is really just your opportunity to quickly tell the panel who you are, and also, like I'm talking about, weaving this thread. If this weaves back to your program description as well, just in the mediums that you're interested in and the themes, that's also a good thing to do. For your artistic background, telling us what your experience is, why are you a fit for this program, clear language. And a great suggestion that I always like to do is have a friend who's not familiar with your work, or perhaps even in another discipline, read your application. And if they understand it, then that's a good thing. And if they come back and they say they're a bit confused, I'd say that's a good idea, maybe to just go back and take a look at your language and to rework a couple things. In terms of support materials, you have opportunity at the end of the application to include some support materials for us. Depending on what your discipline is, this could look like a bunch of different things. It could be digital images of your art, script samples, music scores, poems. It could be links to previous workshops that you've ran, reference letter. The thing here is just to make sure that it has a clear connection to your program and your workshop. So if that means that you're submitting an image of your work, have you included a 2 to 3 sentence description of what's going on? Do we know why we're looking at it and how it's connected? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll open up the application for us. So here, this is our website here. And if you go up in the corner, you go to opportunities and then open calls. And down here, we have community connects. So this is a lot of the information that we have already gone through together. So about the program, application period, what are we supporting, who can apply, requirements, expectations. I haven't mentioned this, but there is additional accessibility funding. If that's something that you needed for your project, you could let us know. Section criteria, accessibility support for putting in your application as well. And then here we'll go jump to the application itself. So we have eligibility, applicant profile at the top, your self-identification. Here's where you give us information about the program, a title, a summary, a long description, and anything that you're writing in here, just to note that if you are accepted, it's likely that we'll use this in marketing for your program. So you want to make sure that it's clear and concise. Any contributors, some of the details about the program itself, how you're proposing it, any engagement that you're hoping to do for the program, a target audience, equipment, budget, community you're working with, and then your artistic experience here. And then lastly, your support materials. So we asked for at least one piece of supporting material, and if you'd like, you can include up to 3 pieces. You don't need 2. And then just some declarations that you're the person submitting the application, it's in your discipline. And then that's it for the application. So that's all that I have for now. And maybe I'll open up the floor for questions. So I see one in the chat, so maybe I'll start there. But as I said, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question too. So the question in the chat is, what if it is the first time? What reference can we give? So I might suggest, depending on what it is that you're applying for instance, say you're applying for a crochet workshop, but you've never done one before. If you have any images of your crochet work to demonstrate to the selection panel that you know how to crochet, that you know what you're doing, that it's a skill that you have, maybe you can attach some images. So that's the advice that I would give for now. Is that clear? Okay. So I see a hand up from Camille. Am I pronouncing your name?
Hi, Katie. Yes, you got it right. So I'm the person that said I had 2 ideas because what I do is actually 2 distinct things. And one of the things that you mentioned is crocheting. So I did want to provide a crochet workshop, but I'm also a children's book author. And I know some people have approached me quite a few times to ask me about how I started writing the books and asking for tips. So I have 2, like they're 2 separate things, but I was trying to think of a way of bringing them together, but I think it's a little tricky. So that's why I was saying, can I put in an application for a crochet workshop to help people to learn how to crochet, but also show them how they can use their crochet items to connect with community and help with overall mental well-being and so forth. And then I wanted to know if I can do a storytelling, like how to write a children's book, but also how to bring that like out, like how to talk about your work, how to promote what you're doing and so forth so that you can be helpful in the community. That's why I was asking about the 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say I would think about which project is perhaps most because BAL's mandate is largely around like supporting artists through professional development, calls for artists, paying artists, helping folks grow their career. So what I would focus on is which idea perhaps you feel would best support creatives in growing their skills.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I've been approached on both. I guess it's really hard. I don't know. I don't know.
Because I
Okay.
guess, well, from what I'm hearing, and you feel free to correct me, the crochet workshop feels to me more general public oriented, whereas the children's storybook writing feels like a specific skill for a more specific audience, whereas crochet feels more open and general, and it feels less directed to supporting folks, as creatives, as artists grow a career.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing. So that would be my advice.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, from Tyreek. So Tyreek currently also has 2 initiatives. Both have been funded before. A community-based open mic paired with a panel discussion, and the other is an artist development workshop series. Which one would be best for this program? I mean, that's a tough question. I guess, like I was just saying to Camille, it's a matter of, based on what you've seen Bow's program and based on what our mandate is do you feel that one is more aligned? I mean, so it's sort of hard to say. I mean, feel free to unmute yourself, Tyreek, if you want to elaborate a bit more.
Okay. Thank you about that. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was able to unmute or not. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, I just want to really and truly, I want to know if both would be eligible. Not obviously in one application, but if either or, if I decided to go with either, would they both be considered eligible projects under this program?
I mean, I think so. I guess to me, the open mic and panel, because artist development feels really broad and wide to me. So I would say that I mean, maybe you already do have more of an idea of what that would be, but that to me, I would need more information on that one to better understand. Whereas an open mic, oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I was going to say, so when I meant artist, it's more of a musician development, like a performance artist development program.
Okay, yeah, I think both sound to me like they would be a fit for the program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so Rebecca, I see your hand. I'm going to answer this question in the chat first, and then Rebecca, I'll come to you. So question from M. Did the facilitator of last year's crochet workshop give out leaflets, brochures as supplementary materials? I'm not sure if they did or not. Often our facilitators will do like a PowerPoint if the venue has like a TV screen. It's certainly something you could do, and I think that would be helpful for folks. And if you were going to do that, I would make sure in your application that you're noting that you would also be providing those materials too. Okay, Rebecca.
Sorry, I had a second trying to unmute myself. I just had a question, I guess, more so about what you're looking for, because I know that the mindful moves was more like a class or like an experience, and then I myself, I do sound healing and I do training as well, and I've worked directly with artists, recording artists, and the concept that I had was more so of how to integrate sound healing techniques into works, whether you're a producer, whether an engineer. And I wanted to know if you're looking for something that's more experiential or something that's more educational or a mix of both.
I would say, I mean, it's a good question. It's I'm going to be maybe a little bit vague because I think it is both. I think the core piece of it for us is like what you said in your answer, which is supporting recording artists, producers, whatever it is. So if you are supporting Brampton artists through what you're proposing, that's a program that we would be interested in. I don't know, Amanda, if you would add anything.
No, I was gonna say the same thing. I think you listed your audience there, and it was other Brampton performing artists. I think that was really key. We did have a Community Connects workshop a couple of years ago that was about taking care of your voice.
Yes, I think I saw one, and I saw one that was like yoga for creatives. I believe that was last year. It was more like self-care for artists. So I was just wondering if that was something that you'd want more of, or if it's something more on the educational side, just because I know there's a lot of sound healing meditation music that I get consulted for. So I wanted to know if that was something that you would be more open, or you'd be more open to in an application versus an experience.
Both could be a fit. Part of what we're looking for in Community Connects too is just community building and bringing folks together. So if you felt that that's something you would be doing through your workshop experience versus educational, we're not necessarily weighing one over the other. It's
Mhm.
more like what the offering is to the community.
Okay.
So,
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
welcome.
Thank you.
I'll give folks another moment or two, and I'll use perhaps one through the chat. For programs that require computers or tech, from your experience, what is the general computer comfort level of the community? Art editing, software, etc. In the past, would that be a bring your own device, or have there been programs where they rented computer equipment or had venues that had equipment? I guess it would depend on who your audience is. So for instance, I mentioned earlier, we're doing a Procreate workshop on an iPad for creatives coming up, well, February, end of February, and we're asking folks bring their own devices. We have a few iPads ourselves, but for that, we know there are many illustrators in our network, and to be an illustrator, a key tool for you is an iPad. So that audience are folks that will have an iPad that they're able to bring. I don't know, Jeff, if you're able to expand a bit, if you like.
For example, like, you know, for if you had programs that were doing sound editing and so forth, was there a program previously or for sound editing, mixing?
We've done some programs in our space before. We have a recording
Oh,
studio. As a visual artist, I don't know much about the types of equipment you would or would not have access to. So I think it'd be tricky for me to answer.
for example, like Photoshop or like a free version of Photoshop. I guess, so it would require like a laptop, like
I
the
mean,
set.
I think it could be an okay assumption to think that folks would be able
Okay,
to bring their own computer or, at least an iPhone. And if it's free software that you're hoping that folks would download beforehand, I think that could work. If you were able to work with the library, say, or have another partner that had access to a few additional computers or whatever the tech was, I think that would be a nice offering too.
okay, thanks. Did you have any questions, Christopher?
Good afternoon. Jeff's my partner in crime here. We're kind of coming in together. I teach animation at a college here, and so I would just try to think of some programming. And so there, this just it's about accessibility. I want whoever's going to have accessibility. So open source software would be something they consider more so than having educational licenses. Anything with a fee. I'm trying to avoid complication. So the delivery of the material is as easy as possible for the kids or for whoever wishes to attend. So I know Jeff just told me about this meeting like last week. So I'm kind of just absorbing everything right now. So I'm just thinking maybe more for the June deadline than the 16th of February. But I will probably can talk to Jeff. I think I have a couple ideas in my head I'm thinking about, and maybe I'd come back to you even in the spring, even before the deadline, to kind of have a conversation and see what I'm thinking about and how it would work with the kids. Or for me, it's about educating kids in animation or other things that would maybe inspire them to pursue a professional path if they want to do that or whatever, just or not. But we're still brainstorming right now, so we'll see where it goes. But that's what Jeff and I were thinking about. That's all. So
Okay, nice. Yeah, well, good to hear. And this is the first year we're doing two. Well, last year we did 2 intakes for Community Connects, but we didn't tell anyone we were doing a second intake. This year we're a
okay,
bit more organized in that we're announcing both intakes at the beginning of the year. So it's nice to hear that you have an idea and you may not be ready yet, but it could be ready for
yeah,
June.
yeah. The June is more conceivable
Mhm.
right now. But yeah, but I'll talk to Jeff and we'll all follow up with you both. So thank
Okay,
you very
great.
much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and just for everyone, I'll send out an email following this, so feel free to reach out with any specific questions or if anything was left unclear. We're happy to chat.
I guess I'll ask one more, just more detailed question. So as Christopher mentioned, like our background is animation, specifically like computer. But then we have like a broad range of like adjacent, like, you know, things that could cater to it. That's why I was curious of like, okay, we're okay if like, 3D is quite a learning curve. So we're just thinking like if there's a way to like if someone wanted to realize another part of your practice in animation of some form. I know that I've seen some work like use After Effects, like presented artwork in downtown. So that's why I was just curious of like, we're open to modifying it to cater, artists like aspirations that they're trying to expand on their current practices through our animation.
I guess I would say, and this could apply for folks looking at different projects too. Like if you can make the case for, like if everyone in your industry already is paying for a software because that's just how it is, and you can make the case to us that folks need more skill and you're the right people to offer that training. I don't know if this is making sense, but that it would like you can make the case to us that the barrier to entry like is necessary for you to be like teaching on whatever After Effects. Does that make sense?
A little bit. I guess I'll follow up in email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Amanda will help me out.
I was gonna add something that was similar to another question about asking about like experience versus sharing education and skills. Like you don't have to do this by any means, but I wonder if there are other things that by being and working in the industry that animators that are already doing like amazing work and know how to use programs, like what else could they benefit from? Like how do you put together a portfolio? I don't know. I'm not an animation person, so I don't know. But are there other industry skills that could be really helpful?
Yeah, right. Yeah, as an animator, you always have adjacent pieces of software that you use in order to like survive and do work. Even again, even thoughts about emerging technologies is something that I'd want to talk to kids about because it's the future, right? And so things are changing right now, very much so in animation. So to give kids an introduction to the language and maybe some adjacent skills. Anyways, again, I'll talk to Jeff before I get back to you with a couple something more comprehensive. Again, be a 3-hour thing, a 3-hour workshop for sure. Whether it's divided into parts, I don't know yet. We'll see. Again, yeah, one day at a time. But thank you very much. That's very good.
Okay, any other questions from folks? Okay, well, maybe we'll leave it there. Like I said, Amanda and myself are here with other questions, and there is another intake in June. So if you're not feeling like you're ready yet, that is an option. So I'll follow up by the end of this week with the slides and recording. And we'll leave it there. So I see just another question. Do we help in filling out the application? So if there are accessibility needs that may require you to have more time, feel free to send us an email and we can chat about that offline. Okay, well, have a good day, everyone. Thanks for being here. We're excited to see what we get this year in terms of applications. And we'll hope to talk to you all soon and see you out at some of our upcoming BOW events this year. Okay,
Right.
bye, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.